Okay, so we are going to look at adverbs and adverbials. Adverbs are words that modify verbs. We should know that. They can modify adjectives or other adverbs. If we look at the first sentence, we've got Frank the farmer drives carefully. The verb would be drives, and it's being described as carefully. So carefully would be the adverb as it describes the verb. Adverbs often end in ly, but not always, so don't fall into that trap. If we look at the next one, Frank the farmer always drives his red tractor. Frank never drives his blue tractor, and Frank's tractor caught on fire. Here are the adverbs are there to show how much time is spent in each tractor. Notice they don't end in ly, so you have to be very careful. Adverbs can be there to describe time, manner, how often something is done. So they don't always end in ly. Adverbials are phrases that do the same job as adverbs. So where adverbs are single words like carefully, adverbial phrases work a little differently, yet still do the same job. Adverbs are there to describe time, so how often and when. They're there for reason, so it gives you a reason as to why something is being done. They tell you how, so the manner as to how something is being done. And they can tell you the place. So if we look at this first sentence, the boy ran, this is just a simple sentence, the boy ran. We can use adverbial phrases to add extra information, to up-level a sentence. So we could add our time. We've got every night, the boy ran. Now notice when we add the adverbial phrase to the front of the sentence, we should know that that is called a fronted adverbial. And a fronted adverbial should always be followed by a comma here. So we've got every night tells us the time, followed by a comma, as a fronted adverbial must be followed by a comma, the boy ran. So all you've done is up-leveled your sentence and added an adverbial phrase showing the time. We could do it again. So instead we've got every night the boy ran, and we've given a reason why, as he wanted to get fit. Notice we've had to add a comma because this clause here, this phrase, is a subordinate. It wouldn't make sense by itself, so we have to separate the main and the subordinate. We could do it again. We could add the manner and the place. So every night the boy ran with haste around the park and back as he wanted to get fit. You can see how many adverbial phrases can be added to one simple sentence. So let's have a look at a few questions. In this one, we've got insert one comma in the correct place in the sentence below. Take a minute and think, where would you put a comma? Where do you think the adverbial phrase is added to this sentence? Of course, it would be every night. Dad and my brother take the dog for a walk. Every night tells us how often something is being done, and it is a fronted adverbial, so we must add a comma. The clause after the fronted adverbial should make sense by itself, so we've got Dad and my brother take the dog for a walk. We've got our subjects and our verbs, so that main clause makes sense by itself. If we look at the next one, which sentence is punctuated correctly? We've got lately, the days have been growing noticeably longer and warmer. Notice we've got this comma after the and. We don't necessarily need to have a comma after an and, as the and acts as the conjunction. So this one is not punctuated correctly. This time we've got lately the days have been growing noticeably longer and warmer. Now notice neither phrase and neither clause make sense by themselves. So have been growing noticeably longer and warmer doesn't make sense by itself. So that one is not punctuated correctly. Lately the days have been growing noticeably longer and warmer. Again, they've used this comma here before the and, which we don't need to do as and acts as our conjunction. And lately the days doesn't make sense. If we look here, we've got lately, our fronted adverbial, tells you the time. The days have been growing noticeably longer and warmer. That one would be punctuated correctly. They've used the fronted adverbial correctly and the clause after it makes sense. Here, take a minute, read the question and think, where would you put a comma in the sentence below? So we've got limping slightly. The old man walked to the end of the road. So the sentence is about the old man walking to the end of the road. Our adverbial phrase, of course, which tells us how something is being done, is limping slightly. The manner in which it's being done, he is limping slightly. So limping slightly, the old man walked to the end of the road. If we took off our fronted adverbial, the clause afterwards should make sense by itself. So the old man walked to the end of the road, which it does. This time they're asking us for two things. Insert 2 commas and a semicolon in the correct places in the passage below. So give it a read. We've got last Wednesday, we performed a play at school. I invited my parents to come and watch. When I first went on stage, I was so nervous that I nearly forgot my lines. So we need 2 commas to separate adverbial phrases from the sentences. And we've got a semicolon, and we should know that a semicolon can act as and. So let's look at the first sentence. Last Wednesday, we performed a play at school. I invited my parents to come and watch. Well, last Wednesday would be our adverbial phrase because that tells us when, the time. So it must be followed by a comma. We performed a play at school. I invited my parents to come and watch. Naturally, we would put an and. I invited my parents to come and watch to join our 2 clauses. If we look at the second sentence, when I first went on stage, I was so nervous that I nearly forgot my lines. Of course, our adverbial phrase is when I first went on stage, as it tells us the time and where something has happened. So it's there to add extra information. Another question asking us to see which sentence has been punctuated correctly. So the first one we've got immediately after dinner we did the washing up. If we were to split those clauses up, dinner we did the washing up doesn't make sense by itself, and immediately after would be working as the fronted adverbial, so the clause after should make sense. So that one is not correctly punctuated. The next one we've got immediately after dinner we did the washing up. Neither phrase makes sense by itself, so that one is not punctuated correctly. The next one we've got immediately after dinner we did the washing up. And then the next one we've got immediately after dinner we did the washing up. If we go to this one, we've got immediately after dinner and we did the washing up. Immediately after dinner is our adverbial phrase as it tells us when. And we did the washing up would make sense by itself, so we can tick that one.